All right, let's jump right into it. Today we're taking a deep dive into a Gnostic personality test.
Interesting.
And this one comes from, you guessed it, the spiritual seek. You know the spiritual seek?
I do. Always a good source of some intriguing content.
Yes, always taking us on some fascinating spiritual explorations.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not just going to take the test.
Okay.
We're going to really dissect each statement, really unpack the Gnostic thinking behind it.
Oh, I like that. So we're going to use it kind of like a springboard to really kind of explore some of these core Gnostic ideas. I love it.
A little mini course in Gnosticism disguised as a personality quiz.
Exactly.
So first things first, anyone who needs a super quick refresher on Gnosticism. In a nutshell, what are we talking about here?
Well, Gnosticism is this ancient spiritual philosophy. It really bloomed around the 1st century AD.
Okay.
And it emphasizes personal spiritual knowledge, or gnosis, as the key to salvation.
Got it.
Which makes it pretty distinct from a lot of mainstream religions that often emphasize faith or rituals as the primary path.
So less about blind belief and more about like this inner knowing.
Exactly, yeah. It's about direct experience. It's about understanding these spiritual truths for yourself, not just accepting them on, blind faith.
Okay.
Yeah.
Inner knowing. Got it. The test itself is 6 statements.
All right.
And we're going to kind of go through each one. Ready to jump in?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's unravel these Gnostic gems.
Okay. Statement number 1. This one's a doozy. Is the material world inherently evil? Whoa.
Yeah.
Heavy stuff right out of the gate. What's the Gnostic take on this?
Right. It's a provocative statement, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think Gnostics would necessarily use the word evil in like a simplistic, good versus bad kind of way.
Right.
It's more nuanced than that. It's more about seeing the material world as flawed, maybe limited, a bit of a distraction, even from our true spiritual nature.
Interesting. So it's not that like everything physical is bad.
Right.
But it's more that like this material realm can kind of keep us trapped in this limited way of being.
Exactly, yeah. They view the soul as this divine spark kind of trapped in the material world, yearning to return to a higher, more spiritual reality.
I see.
And this is where their concept of the demiurge comes in.
Okay, the demiurge. Ooh, I get like a little shiver every time I hear that word.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful concept.
Yeah, it's very distinct from how a lot of religions view God. So can you kind of break that down for us?
Yeah, definitely. So in many Gnostic texts, the demiurge is not the ultimate God, but a lesser being who created this flawed material world.
Okay.
Now, some texts depict the demiurge as kind of ignorant, others as more straight up malevolent.
Oh.
But either way, it's this force that kind of keeps us bound to the material, obscuring our true spiritual knowledge. Okay, so this really challenges the traditional notion of a perfect, all-powerful God, right? Like there's this whole other layer to the cosmic creation story. I don't know about you, but that idea just like sparks something in me. It's unsettling, but also kind of liberating in a way.
Yeah, I completely get that feeling. It really makes you question, everything you thought you knew about the universe.
Totally.
And that questioning, that curiosity, that's actually very much in line with the Gnostic spirit.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to statement 2. Does salvation come through knowledge of spiritual truths?
Right.
That seems to cut to the core of Gnosticism, right?
Absolutely. This is where gnosis really takes center stage. Okay. For Gnostics, salvation is not about blind faith or just, adhering to religious dogma. Right. It's about directly experiencing and understanding these deep spiritual truths.
So it's less about the external rules and more about that, like, aha moment, that inner knowing that illuminates your path.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about awakening to your true nature, your connection to the divine, however you conceive of that.
Right.
Yeah. And this leads us perfectly into statement number 3. The soul's journey involves transcending the material realm.
Okay. This one's really resonating with me. It's like this yearning to kind of escape the confines of this material world and reconnect with something greater. Like we're meant for something more.
Yeah, you're picking up on a key theme in Gnosticism.
Okay.
It's this idea that our souls are on this journey back to a higher spiritual reality. And this journey involves shedding the limitations and the illusions that are imposed by the material world. Think of it as a process of purification, moving from, darkness to light.
So it's not necessarily about like physically leaving this world behind,
Right.
but more about an internal shift.
Exactly. It's an internal shift in perspective and consciousness. It's about, peeling back those layers of ignorance
Yeah.
and realizing our divine nature.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, do you think everyone is capable of this transcendence? Or is it just reserved for like a select few?
That's a great question. And it's one that's been debated among Gnostics themselves throughout history.
Oh, wow.
Some believe that everyone possesses that divine spark, that we talked about, while others suggest that it's only those who actively seek gnosis that can achieve this kind of ultimate liberation.
Okay.
It's an interesting question to ponder. Yeah, it's a thought-provoking idea, right? This potential within us, but it's up to us to kind of choose whether we awaken it or not.
It really makes you think about all the choices you make in life, the paths you choose. Do they lead us closer to or further from that awakening?
Right, exactly. And that actually brings us to statement number 4. The material world was created by a lesser entity called the demiurge. We've touched on it a bit, but I think we should explore this a little deeper.
Yeah, I think so too. This concept is so core to Gnosticism, but it's also, I don't know, kind of mind-bending, right?
Yeah.
So like, if the material world is flawed
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't created by like the ultimate source of goodness, then where does that leave our reality?
Right, right. It really challenges us to kind of step outside that traditional religious framework and think differently. Remember, Gnostics often saw the demiurge as like this flawed creator, perhaps ignorant, maybe even malicious, who kind of trapped this divine spark within matter.
Like a cosmic drama unfolding and our souls are caught in the middle.
Right.
It's interesting how this idea of the demiurge can resonate even with people who don't subscribe to like Gnosticism as a whole. This archetype of the flawed creator, it pops up in so many stories and myths throughout history.
Yeah, you're so right. It makes you think about those moments when you feel disillusioned with like authority figures or systems that feel rigged against us.
Totally.
Almost like you're sensing there's something more,
Yeah.
A higher truth beyond the limitations of the world as we see it.
Yeah, it's that feeling of like, there's got to be more to life than this. And maybe that more is that connection to the divine that we're talking about.
Exactly, and that leads us perfectly into statement number 5. Individual spiritual experience is more important than religious institutions.
Ooh, this one feels kind of rebellious, like a little bit, Gnosticism is kind of throwing down the gauntlet, challenging the very structure of organized religion.
Yeah, it definitely bucks the trend, that's for sure. Gnostics really valued direct personal experience over dogma, over rituals. They believe that true spiritual understanding comes from within.
Okay.
Not from external authorities.
So it's like they're saying, don't just blindly follow what you're told. Seek your own truth. Trust your own guidance.
Exactly. It's about cultivating that inner knowing, that direct connection to the divine. Now, this doesn't mean organized religion is inherently bad or anything like that.
Right.
But, Gnostics saw it as potentially limiting, especially if it became a substitute for that personal exploration.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Honoring the wisdom of traditions, but still carving your own path.
Absolutely. And this emphasis on individual experience ties beautifully into our final statement. Some humans possess a divine spark that can be awakened through enlightenment.
Okay, this one just feels so hopeful, like a reminder of our potential. Like we all have this spark of divinity within us, just waiting to be ignited.
It's such a beautiful concept, right? Gnostics believe that this spark is our true essence. It's like this fragment of the divine source kind of trapped, again, in the material world. And the path to awaken this spark, well, it's through gnosis. It's through that deep inner knowing that we've been talking about.
So it's not something that just like passively happens to us. We have to actually seek it out, cultivate it through like self-discovery and spiritual practice.
Precisely. And this journey of like awakening this divine spark, it's unique for each individual. There's no like one-size-fits-all approach. It's about finding what resonates with you. What lights you up from the inside out.
I love that. So we've covered all 6 statements now.
We did it.
Before we wrap things up, what stands out to you the most about these Gnostic principles?
I think what really strikes me is that emphasis on personal responsibility, on empowerment.
Yeah.
Gnosticism really encourages us to take ownership of our spiritual journeys, to question, to explore, and ultimately to trust our own inner guidance.
Yeah.
It's like this beautiful call to awaken to our true nature and to live a life that is in alignment with that truth.
Yeah, it's like it puts the power back in our hands.
Exactly, yeah. Instead of waiting for someone else to tell us, what's true or what to believe, we have the power to
discover for ourselves.
Discover it, exactly. And that's what I love about exploring these Gnostic ideas. Even if, you don't consider yourself like a capital G Gnostic,
Yep.
it can really spark a fire within,
Yeah.
It encourages you to think differently about your place in the universe, about your relationship to the divine, however you conceive of that.
Right.
And even the very nature of reality itself.
Totally. It's like this deep dive has opened up like a whole new dimension for me. And I'm sure our listeners are feeling that too.
Yeah.
As we wrap things up, what's one key takeaway you hope listeners will carry with them from this conversation?
I think the most important thing is to remember that this isn't just about ancient philosophy,
Yeah.
It's not. Gnosticism offers a framework for understanding our own lives,
Yeah.
our own struggles, our own aspirations.
Okay.
It reminds us that we're not just like passive bystanders in this cosmic play, right?
Right.
We have the power to choose, to grow, and to awaken to our true potential.
Beautifully said. And even if some of these concepts feel a little out there, there's still something so deeply resonant about that message. It's like a call to action, an invitation to embark on our own, personal journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening.
Absolutely. And, there's no right or wrong way to approach this. It's about finding what resonates with your soul, what sparks that inner knowing within you.
Ooh, I like that. So to all of our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that divine spark burning bright. Who knows what amazing insights, transformations await you on your own unique path.
And never underestimate the power of a little gnosis to shake things up and awaken you to a whole new way of seeing the world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Gnosticism. Till next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep shining.